After he started in mid-year of 9th grade, they had the cross tryouts. And when you play hockey in the winter, you play some other sport, baseball or lacrosse, in the summer or spring, and that's what he did. And Winter Park High School, I picked that one because they had been district champs in lacrosse. Set your bar high. You know? So he tries out the next week, and we're praying, oh, God, please let this kid make JV. You know, I'm like, oh, please, God, just let him make JV so he can have some friends. Well, we get the phone call, and the coach is on the phone with him, and I see Justin's face, and I hear him saying, okay, coach. Okay. All right, thank you. And my heart melts. I can just see this expression on his face. And I look at him, and he goes, Mom, I didn't make JV. I made varsity. I thank you, God. True story. So here he is, big man on campus. And I'm thinking, God's taking care of my people. My mom's in Lakeland, and now my family's all here in Florida together. So I start school, did well. First time in my life I actually made good grades. Because when you're doing what God wants you to do, you know, you get into it, and you really change, and I was changing. So second semester, fall 2012, I'm getting ready to go to my first day of classes, and my doctor calls and says, you know, I'd like to have you come in. We got those test results back. I'd like to talk to you about them. And so I go into her office that morning and sit down, and she tells me, you have a rare cancer. And you're going to have surgery pretty soon, and you're going to undergo chemotherapy and radiation. And but I believe that after we're all done with it, then you are going to be cancer-free and be able to go on with your life. And I said, okay. I remember walking out of there, driving by myself to the campus, and there I was. I walk in, and you're, hi, how are you? Good to see you. But I walked straight back to the chapel. And I got down on my knees at a kneeler in the chapel, and I looked up to God and said, I trust you. I mean, how can you go that far with everything falling into place and not trust Him with the tough stuff? So I did. And word spread that I had cancer, and all the different folks there, the staff, the faculty, they were all there supporting me. And we prayed, and they prayed a lot for me, putting their hands on me. I went to one of my son's lacrosse games, and lo and behold, the team comes running out with pink mid-calves, pink shoelaces on their cleats. They'd taken the orange paw print off their helmets and replaced it with the pink one. The entire team turned pink that season, and so did the parents. And I realized that I was not going to go through this journey alone. I had a whole team of people ready to be around me. These are kingdom people, folks. And so I end up trusting and believing in God and having faith in Him. And I had the surgery, and after in the recovery room, the doctor looks at me and she said, well, we got it all. But she said there was amazing. One thing that happened was this tumor had burned itself on the inside out. It was completely ashes. There's only a rim of cancer, just a small rim. It had not spread to my lymph nodes. And she said to me, you're cancer-free. And I said, how did that happen? She said, you must have had a lot of people praying for you. That's what happens when you surround yourself with kingdom people. Yeah. So there I was in this hospital room, and I realized that what God had been calling me to do was become a beacon of hope for people, to be the light of Jesus Christ in the world, to share my story with people, and to allow others who are lost and who are searching to be able to find God. That was my journey, and that was what God was calling me to do. So I became the pastor to those folks in the chemotherapy room and the radiation center and the nurses and the doctors, and to the pastors that I was in classes with who wanted to learn every detail. I mean, I'd walk into class and say, okay, look, first thing about cancer is these wigs, they itch. So I'm taking it off and you're going to have to deal with it. And of course, I learned that people who are bald, the reason they wear baseball caps is because you lose a lot of heat coming out of your head. And so I really learned a lot, and they got me through it, and I got through it with them. And I was grateful to God for that experience. I ended up in the hospital a number of times. I had a real hard time with the chemo. If the cancer doesn't kill you, chemo can. And ended up being in there with a really low blood count. But when I got out of the hospital, it was October, and I had no idea that there was this thing called Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And there in front of the lawn of the hospital, Florida Hospital actually sells these plastic pink flamingos to raise money. And they were all over Winter Park. I mean, we're talking thousands. People had them in their yards, and you could tell all the people that for year after year, they'd have like 4 or 5, and every year they'd add another one. And everywhere I went, I saw pink flamingos everywhere, and I realized that I was not alone in this journey. So eventually I come into this place here, and I realize how my journey has taken me from being the pastor of a small rural church in Kissimmee. That was the first one they gave me. I mean, hey, you're a student, you're in seminary, and they tell you this church is going to probably end up closing, so we're going to send you there. You can't make any mistakes, you know, I mean. And you're thinking, oh, great. But we changed a few things, and they celebrated a year later their 150th anniversary because I gave them hope. If you've seen the newsletter and you see this picture of me with no hair, short hair with curly hair, that was me with my hair coming back in that you got on your newsletter. And so they were there through that part of that journey with me too. And then they sent me after 3 years. That church is still open, but they ended up sending me to Westissa, Florida, which is up near Tallahassee. I've been the senior pastor there for a year. And amazingly, I end up in a congregation with a number of people who have cancer. And I think, you know, God, this is part of it. This is why I had to trust you. I've been there, and I can be a good pastor to these folks. And I gave hope to a woman who is still on a transplant list there as well. And then I came here. And I got out, and I'm realizing I'm on the water again. And I'm realizing that this water that I'm surrounded by is just this wonderful place where I can just really learn to talk to God again in my life. And the water isn't like the water in Michigan where it's frozen and cold. Water isn't that great right now, but we're going to work on that. We're going to pray really hard, because I totally believe that there's answers. God answers prayer. But I put my feet in that water here, and it's a good thing. It's living water, and it's the kind of water that Jesus Christ will offer you. And Jesus tells us this other story. It comes from the book of John, chapter 21. It's a story where he has died, he was suffered on the cross, he's resurrected, and he meets his disciples in an upper room, and he says to all of them, all right, I'll meet you in Galilee. So they go to Galilee ahead of him, and they're waiting for him, and of course they're getting impatient, but I mean, hey, if you're standing around the Sea of Tiberias, I guess the best thing to do is go fishing. So that's what Peter says. He said, hey, I'm going fishing, and the other 6 guys go, well, we're going with you. So they're out there, and they're trying to do it on their own without Jesus on the boat, and they caught nothing. And they see this shadow of a person standing on the shore. Is up there on the beach, and he looks out at all of them, and he said, hey, did you catch anything? And they're like, no. And he looks at him, and he said, you need to throw that net on the other side, and you're going to catch some stuff. And they did, and they couldn't even hold all the fish that were on this boat, and they're trying to pull it back in. Well, that's what it's like when you're with Jesus. When you put Jesus in your life, and when Jesus is at the forefront of who you are and where you are in your life. When you're willing to trust in him and go his way, not your own way. And Jesus sat down with them, and they bring it ashore, and they start sorting out the good from the bad. It says that they got 153, not 152 or 154, but 153 good fish. And Jesus said, come, sit with me and eat. That's what he wants. That's all he wants. God only wants just some time with you. So this week I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge each and every one of you to just take a few minutes from your day. I mean, we are literally surrounded by water. Think about this fact that we have this amazing God. You know, there's this show that was on television a number of years ago. It's called The Deadliest Catch. And I remember thinking to myself, why in the world would anybody risk their life for crab? Now, I love Alaskan king crab, but why would anybody do that? And they have these huge pods that they put all these huge pods out, and it's risky because we're talking about the Bering Sea, and the waves are crashing around them, but yet they bring these big crab pods on, and they sort the crab from the good from the bad. And as they do that, they risk their lives. And I thought to myself, why would they do that? Well, they're commercial fishermen. And those commercial fishermen are like the fishermen that Jesus talks about in the Bible, people who are willing to risk their lives. People who are willing to sell it all, which is what I did. I sold everything I could get my hands on, silver, jewelry, so I could go to seminary. You see, God will show you the pearls, and he will show you that there's things that are worth giving up for, whether that be hockey or whether that be just a different life. He'll show you the hidden treasures in fields. And when you get to wherever it is that you're searching for, I want to tell you right here and right now that Jesus Christ will be there to pick you up off the floor when you're